Today we'll deep dive into the Azure concepts. The main concept in Azure is subscription and region. While creating any resources, we need both of these. Without this, we can't create any resources. So let's learn about region pairs, availability zones, resource group, resources, and everything. As you all know, Azure.
బ్లూటూత్ ఆన్లో ఉందా బ్లూటూత్ అని చూడు ఒకసారి బ్లూటూత్ ఆన్లో ఉందా ఆ. ఏదో కనెక్ట్ అయిపోతుంది బ్లూటూత్కి
Just maintain only our operation expenditure. Just will pay for the RAM, storage, network, and how much time we use the video. That's all. And the other topic, main topic is management groups. Management groups is something which we use in, is a part of the Azure hierarchy.
దీంట్లో ఉంది ఇది బ్లూటూత్ దీనికి బ్లూటూత్ ఉండదు కదా ఉంటుంది కదా చూడు
For IT team will be under one management group. For the suppose if we consider others, they will be under other management group. So beneath that management groups, we'll have subscriptions. Okay. The main use of this management group is that we can manage and we can apply any policies. Suppose if you consider here, suppose consider this production group, this IT group. If you can see, whatever the policy which we have applied here, there are some concept called Azure policies which we will learn later. There we can mention some kind of requirements, like if you want to create any machine, we need to create in only in this particular zone or particular region, and it should have some security alerts, like we need to provide the tags for it, like that. We will enable all these things. Will enforce the policies here. When we enforce the policies, it is hierarchical in nature. It will apply to all this production, this geo region 1, geo region 2, and all these subscriptions. This is the main usage of this management group. Under one organization, we can have multiple management groups. Next, what is subscription? Subscription, I think mostly we have gone through this. To use any cloud platform, there must be some relation between cloud provider and the cloud consumer. Suppose let's consider they are providing the services and we need to pay for that, for usage of those services. So the relation between both of us will be the subscription. Here it will calculate what are the resources we have created and how much money, for how many hours, how much money we have used, and we for every month in the billing cycle will pay the amount for the resource uses. Resources is something that the Azure services which are available in the portal. Let's consider VM, let us consider the storage, virtual network, and all those things. Resource groups, this is generally for logical grouping. Logical grouping in the sense, suppose let's consider in the development environment, we have three kinds of environments, like dev, test, and production. Let me show you this. Consider three environments here. This is the dev environment, this is the QA environment, and this is the prod environment. So for each environment, the resources may be different. So what are the resources required for this environment? We'll group them under dev. And for QA, similarly for QA, what are the resources? We'll mention the QA resource group while creating those resources. And for prod, we'll do the same thing. This is how the resource group tells us. These are the circles which are mentioned here are the different kinds of resources. And for to check all the dev resources, we can just go through the dev resource group. Under this resource group, we can find all the resources which we created for the development environment. Similarly for the test and for the prod. And the next, this is the hierarchy you can see. Under the Azure, one Azure account, we can have multiple subscriptions. Under the subscriptions, we have resource groups. Under the resource group, we have multiple resources. This is the Azure account. Under this, we have multiple subscriptions. These are the resource groups. Under one resource group, we can have multiple resources. Under one subscription, we can have multiple resources groups. Okay, now we'll go through the concept of Azure regions. Before learning Azure regions, let us consider this as a globe. What Azure does is that it had divided this globe into different geographies. Consider the square boxes as geographies. Suppose this is North America geography, India geography, and this is South Asia geography. The geographies will be like this. Under this each geography, we have multiple regions. In India, we have three regions like this. Under this India, we have multiple regions. Similarly, for each geography, we'll have multiple regions. India is also a geography. So like this, the Azure divide. We require these geographies and regions for creating the resources. Based on our need, we'll select the region which is required for us to host any application or to host any VM. The main usage for this is that the data regulation compliance. As Dilip asked yesterday, something related to the data regulations. Suppose consider some RBI have recently RBI have provided an memorandum that whatever the finance data which is coming out of the users in India should be stored in India itself. So to compliance this, Azure will provide a solution for us. So if there is any finance app, they will create a VM in India region and they will host the data in India only. They can create any database or any storage account and they can host the data, the latency. Suppose consider we are developing an app for the Indian users, and if we host the application in the America, the latency of reaching the application is different. So consider an American user can access that application easily as it is hosted in America. But if the Indian users need to access that application, there may be a delay in accessing the application. Let's say it is lagged. And the Azure data centers, the actual data centers looks like this. The data center structure will be like this. I'm drawing the. This is called rack. There will be n number of racks in each data center, and each rack will have a number of servers. Based on the rack capacity, we'll have number of servers. And for all these servers, there must be some network connectivity, cooling, and maintenance, right? So for each rack there will be separate cooling, separate network, and separate maintenance for this. Azure does all these things. We no need to take care of anything of this. We just need to pay for our usage. That's all. This is called the Azure data centers, and Azure data centers are located across the globe. They are simply called as the building blocks of Azure infrastructure. The next concept which we are going through is the Azure regions. Azure regions is something which we have learned earlier is that Azure data center, right? Azure regions is something where we have multiple data centers in a region. The number of data centers in a region we can't calculate. It may vary from region to region, and Microsoft decides it. They do some analysis. They check the seismic activity, they check the network activity and everything, and they'll select one area as a region, and in that region they can create some multiple data centers, and the data center may vary. Suppose if India, they have two regions, Central India and South India. In the Central India we can have only 6 data centers, Central India region. In the South India region we can have 10 data centers, so it may vary from region to region. If you consider in Azure, in the world we have 60 plus regions all around the world. That's why Azure is becoming so popular. Regarding Amazon AWS, we have only around 20 regions around the world. But one thing with these regions is that from India we can create any resource in US as well. We can choose the region as per our choice, and sometimes we can deploy the resources to multiple regions to enable the cross-region resiliency. Is that suppose if you are creating any resource, we'll deploy that resource into two regions. Whenever a region get failed, whenever a region get failed, we can access the same application from the other region. So there will be no downtime and the users, and it will not impact the users, and it will be helpful for the customers and the company. And the next, Azure region page. Azure region page also works similarly like what I have said in the cross region resiliency. But here for each region we have the page. Suppose if you consider India, Central India and South India are the region page. Azure decides which regions have the region page. Mostly they will select the regions which are closest to each other. What are the benefits of this region page is that suppose if you consider you have hosted an application in the Central India, and you have enabled the region page for that application. Suppose if there is any issue of floods or any disaster happening in the Central India, what will happen is that we cannot access the application from the Central India location. So as we have the region pair enabled for that application, from South India we can access that application. What will happen whenever we create an application, even its replica got created in the South India, all the data and storage also gets replicated to that South India. Even the other advantage from the Azure point of view is that Azure, as it maintains all the infrastructure and the servers, what they will do is that they will not update all the regions at a time. They will update region by region. Suppose if they update the Central India today, they will update the South India next week. It depends on the Azure time frame. And the next topic is availability zones. Availability zones is also similar to the regions, but as I have mentioned earlier, we have number of data centers in a region, and availability zones mostly maximum for each region will have 3 availability zones. A minimum of three separate zones to the ensure resiliency, and each availability zone we cannot say how many number of data centers the availability zone have. What will happen is that here all the 3 availability zones are connected to each other, and they will be almost nearer to them. If there is any failure in one availability zone, it will we can access the same application from the other availability zone. That's the usage of these availability zones. This helps in protecting our data and applications from the data center failure. I'll show you the hierarchy how you can remember these things. This is how the hierarchy look like. The topmost where we'll have the geography, let's consider it as India, and the regions, we have two regions at present now in India, Central India and South India. And under each region we have multiple availability zones depending on the region and depending on the criteria what Microsoft prescribed. They will select the number of availability zones under each region. Do you have any doubt regarding this? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Yeah, you're audible.
Do you guys
We
have any
can
doubt?
kind of, yeah, I'm audible to you.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, like the availability zones is that means according to our subscription or like whatever the subscription may be,
Under each,
there's a,
now generally we are taking these classes, we'll use the free subscription, but companies use the premium subscription, premium kind of thing. They may have some relation with the Microsoft. They deal with
yeah,
themselves.
okay.
For each subscription will have, it will be available availability zones.
It means like whatever the subscription may be, like our data or like our servers will be exactly or replicated to the
Yeah, yeah,
another same zone in the particular region.
yeah. In the same different zones in the particular region. We we won't be able to see the replicas. Only Microsoft does this. Whenever there is a failure, we
Yeah,
can see them.
in the zone, yeah, in the region we'll be having available zones, right?
Availability zones, yes.
Yeah, thanks.
In
That's,
the first class, we have mentioned about availability concept, right? High availability. The availability
yeah.
zones are mainly for those. For those. And yesterday,
Oh,
Banu said that SLA thing, right? To maintain that
yeah.
SLAs, the availability zone concept has evolved from Azure.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. If they don't meet the SLA, Azure will provide some credits to the organizations. They can use those credits.
Oh,
Regarding availability zones, tomorrow class will have a concept regarding that, so you can get a better view. You can get better idea regarding that availability zones. Any doubt from any others? If you guys feel to post in the chat, you can post in the chat as well. Okay, guys, I'll take it as a no, and I will take over to the portal how it looks like. To access the portal, we'll just use one thing: portal.azure.com. This is how the portal looks like, and as we are working using the free subscription, the Microsoft provides $200 credit for 1 month, so we can use some premium services as well in this. After that 30 days, we can use only some 25 services for about 1 year. So as I mentioned earlier, we had thought about that subscription resource group and locations and regions, right? We can see here while creating this virtual machine, we need to select all these options. So first, the mandatory things are here. The subscription, we are selecting the free trial, and we have this. We can create an resource group under dev.rg, and we what will happen is that whenever we create a virtual machine, it will be part of this dev.rg resource group, and we need to provide the name for this, and we have the option to select the region. In some of the regions, we can't available all the facilities like availability zones. Some of the regions are coming up in future, so most probably we can select East US or Central US for practice. And the availability options here, you can see availability zone, and you can select what are the zones required. And this image is something like OS. Okay, now you got the fair idea where we can use this resource group concept, region, availability zone, right? Now I would like to tell what are the services which we are going to teach as part of this course.
Excuse me, small bit.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Like how is thing like you can have multiple subscriptions. Previously, once I have seen like a single subscription you can
Yeah, we can
contain
have multiple subscriptions here.
different.
It's not a problem. If you can hover here, if you can go through subscriptions, you can add multiple subscriptions under one mail. It's not a problem. In my
You
organization,
can
we have around some 20 to 30 subscriptions we use. Vary from project to
like
project. Yeah,
can you know what do you mean by subscriptions according to our terms? Like, is it like an assigning or it is a billing is
it
some
is simply a
specific
billing agreement between we and the cloud providers. That's all.
okay, means like for example if I have a five projects I want to separate it, five projects different billing like I need to create a five subscription.
Manoj, you are
Or
not
if I
audible.
want to bill
You are not audible, and you are quite fast. Can you ask it slowly?
uh, is it audible now?
Yeah, it's fine now.
So for example, if I have five projects and if I want to get build five projects different teams, then I need to have five subscriptions. Correct?
It depends on the client requirements and whatever the architect teams decide. On the top of us, there will be a solution architect who provide us with the what are the
Hmm.
requirements they want from us. We will create those, and the architect will tell us what are the resources we want in this subscription, and under this resource group,
Hmm.
we'll get a document related to that in the real time.
Okay, sure. Can I know, like maybe let us say, can I know like what is the resource group or resource like a resource means like an application or some which we are consuming.
Anything which you
Uh,
create on Azure is called resource.
resource group.
Resource group for logical grouping. Suppose I have mentioned, right, in an organization we have three environments like dev, QA, and test. We want to segregate
Yeah.
the each resource separately.
Okay.
Suppose if you don't have any resource group, what will happen is that we need to check all the time. What is the suppose if you consider an application? Let me tell you. I'll show you the painting. It will
Okay.
be
It
easy.
means like in dev QS testing is there, and I want to create each resource group for each environment, and in each resource group I need to maintain different resources like what
Yeah,
are the
yeah. What are
applications
the
which I
resources
want to
required for
run.
that particular dev environment? Will maintain in the dev.rg group.
Okay, it means like in it's just like maintaining the different types of servers or different
No, no.
separate environment. Correct?
It's not like separate environment. Yeah, maybe the servers may be different. Why? Because we create different types of OSs for dev, and we use different type of operating systems for QA environments.
Yeah.
So maybe the servers may
Hmm.
be different, but it's not our control. What we do is that we just segregate the resources as a group, so we can easily identify which resources are there.
Segregate the resources as a groups. Means like I say,
Yeah.
for example,
Suppose I'll tell you one thing. I'll
hmm,
explain you with an example. Just consider this an virtual machine.
hmm,
We have virtual machine. We have a storage account, and we have some other there is a concept of load balancers. We have all those resources. Suppose consider this virtual machine we are using for dev, and storage account we are using for test environment. So what we'll do, suppose if you don't have any resource group concept, what we'll do is that we have all the resources. We need to go through each resource. For dev environment, suppose you have created two virtual machines, you need to check all there will be some n number of virtual machines in our organization. We need to check each and every organization which is related, each and every resource which is related to dev. But if you have a resource group, what will happen, all the dev related virtual machines will be part of this dev rg group. So whenever we go through this dev rg group, we can see all the resources related to dev. Have you got an idea now?
Yeah, I got an idea, but small
Okay.
confusion. For example, say,
Okay.
uh, let us consider like there is one application. In that application, we are maintaining different types of servers,
Okay.
different stage, different type of environments, like in production, staging, and testing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Now we need to have each and every virtual server for all the environments.
Okay.
Production virtual environment, staging, and testing virtual environments. Good.
Okay. Yeah.
Now we are giving as like a software as a services for each and every system, and we have to get subscription steps. So like in complete maintenance is for the money. Now what I need to do is like uh, now we need to have different types of applications for each and every server production, staging, and now the applications whichever is installed on a particular it means like now the production will be considering either like in a separate resource group or the complete applications or whatever we install does it comes under a separate particular resource group like and how can you clarify with my example.
Okay. Uh,
Hi Manoj, Banu here, sir. Sorry for interrupting only. See, to clarify your doubt, see, let's how general. Am I
Yeah, you're good
okay?
can go on.
Yeah, to clarify your question, see, let's consider one project working. So in the project, generally what happens is, see, general hierarchy explain. We three environments. I mean, let's say there are three environments: dev environment, stage environment, production environment. So how we will be doing is first we will be creating three subscriptions like dev subscription, staging subscription, production subscription. So and let's say you have servers. What you have said as an example. So you have let's say three servers for dev, three servers for staging, and three servers for production. So now what you will do? You will create nine servers, but you cannot differentiate which server belongs to which environment. So to have a grouping, logical grouping, what we'll be doing is I will hold my three dev servers. For holding these three dev servers, I will create like dev virtual machine RG, which is like dev virtual machine resource group. So for staging, how I will create is staging virtual machine resource group. So what I will do, I will put all my three machines or three servers in this RG. So this RG will be obviously belonging to dev subscription. So you got my point. What I'm trying to say. See,
Yeah,
nothing but the hierarchy how we are maintaining. So subscription levels, and one more thing is at the subscription level you can track the cost also. Let's say developers, there are 100 developers in a project, and let's say staging resources, I mean testers are around only 50 testers. So how we can segregate is all 100 developers will work on subscription only, whereas all the 50 testers will be on staging subscription. So we can estimate the cost, how much developers are utilizing, what is the amount of cost. At the subscription level, we can estimate the cost. If suppose the cost is beyond that, whatever the limit you have set, we can cut down the developers' resources. So the cost management can also done at the subscription level, which will once you will be dealing now. So first thing is you should understand the hierarchy. First will be management groups. Under that the subscriptions. Under that resource group. Under that we will fall the resources. So if you are clarified, if you have clarity on this hierarchy, it is clear for you.
you're good. Almost like I got it. One small,
Okay. Yes.
one small. But for example, if I created a subscription for my staging environment, and in
Okay.
staging environment have a different machines around like 10 to 12. Now I
Okay.
created a resource group in order to have a logical group. It means like in order to segregate under one group, I created a resource group. Now I
Okay.
want to now under each and every virtual server or virtual machines, I need to use applications, right? So does it be costing like in how many times you're using a particular application on different machines, or is it like you are using a single applications will be costing is single manner? How
So
is it?
it will turn number of resources. See, if you are running the nine virtual machines, you will get the cost of nine virtual machines, and at the top of
Hmm.
it, you will install if you install. Okay, sorry, you
Okay,
can
go on, go
continue.
on, go on, go on, no, go on, go on.
Okay. So what you said is in the staging subscription, you are saying you have bought nine servers. Okay. So you will be getting the cost of nine servers. How much you are? Suppose let's say each server cost around 100 rupees. Let's say. So your total cost will be 900. On the top of it, what is the application you are installing? For that also you will be get charged. So whatever the resource you are creating in the Azure, you will be getting charged for each and every resource. Okay. So at the
Okay.
subscription level. So because in general in production you will be going with the premium type because production should be live and up and running. Whereas in dev you can go with the normal standards. So at that time the cost will be less. So it is depends upon the what is the environment you are choosing and the number of resources you are creating.
Okay. Then the resources and the resource group will be helpful for letting reducing the cost. How many virtual machines, how many applications you are running, or how many resources you are utilizing, it depends upon that much cost. Correct?
Yeah, correct. See,
Yeah.
resource group will not reduce the cost. It is just a
Yeah.
grouping
Yeah.
only,
Understood.
logical grouping.
I understood.
Okay.
Only the segregating the same type of machines until again, as we previously discussed, in staging machine I have 12 servers. In order to know, like in all the servers, we are creating a single resource named staging resource group. Under it, we are using different types of resources, like in different types of applications where we are using. And above
Correct.
that, we have a subscriptions. And based upon the subscription, we will be charged. And above subscription, we will be having one group called as a managed system or something is it, right?
Management groups.
Management groups.
Management management groups. Yeah, correct. Got it.
Yeah, you have summarized all the
Thanks.
things. Thanks. Yeah.
You have
Thank,
summarized the whole class till now, Manoj. Thanks for that.
thank you.
And the other thing I would like to take on what Banu has told you, right, the regarding the cost. I'll just show you from the portal itself. If we go through the subscription, under the subscription we can find the cost which we have. As we are using the free subscription, we can't see anything, but here we have three different options like cost analysis, cost alerts, and budgets. Budget is something like if you want your budget is suppose 2000, we can enable this. You can just add the budget. We just need to provide some name, some amounts, whether it is billing monthly or weekly, and some amount. Suppose if you consider that it has 2000, you can just mention the 2000 amount. Whenever the resources which we are using, the cost is becoming more than 2000, you will get an alert for that. You'll get an alert in the form of mail, or you can get an SMS notification like that. There we can just track our resources. When if you see that your resources are getting beyond 2000, you can just what you can do, you can delete your resources so that you will be within your budget. And the cost alerts is something similarly to the budgets where I have mentioned, right? Suppose if the cost of a VM is more than 1000, it is getting more than 1000. Whenever it touches the 1000, if you just create an alert, you'll get an alert that the cost of VM is reached 1000. So what we'll do, the cost is beyond our scope, so we can delete that VM. Cost analysis is something, it will segregate everything in the form of visualization, like in the resource groups as per the location and as per the regions. It will segregate everything. I think it will load here. I'll show you this. It will show in the form of charts. See here, you can see everything, right? Services name, Azure App Service, mostly we are using. And as per the location, US East, we are getting this. We can select other regions as well, but mostly the resources in the subscription are created under US East. And here you can see the India Central, and here you can see the US West 3. Under each, the resources are created under this each regions. Under each region, this is the cost it had occurred till now for the resources which we have created. Under this, here you can find the resource group names. Under WebApp.rg, we got this much amount. That's all. This is the cost management thing which we are taught to tell you. But whenever you do the hands-on, you'll get a clear idea on all those things. And I will take you through what are the I'll take you through what are the resources which we are going to create in our course. and which we are going to teach in the next coming classes. First, let me start with the compute thing. Here we'll create the virtual machines and some other concepts related to the virtual machines like virtual machine scale sets, availability sets. These are the concepts as part of virtual machines. And here we can get a clear picture about the availability zones as well. And the other thing is the storage. Here we'll learn about storage tiers, zone redundancy regarding the storage, and there is other thing like access keys, SAS tokens, storage explorer, which is a Microsoft have developed recently, and there are different types of storages like tables, blobs, queues, and file shares. These are the concepts which we will learn under the storage. And the next thing is networking. Under this networking, you learn about virtual network, and under each virtual network we can create the subnets, and we have different concepts like VPN, Azure VPN, where we create the site to site and point to site, and we have other concept like load balancers. There are four types of load balancers, and we learn all the four types of load balancers. And there is other thing called CDN, content delivery network, and there is other thing called firewall, and the other concept like route tables and DNS as well. We'll learn in the networking concepts. And the other concept which we learn is the monitor. What are the resources we create? We'll monitor all those resources. For monitoring, we'll learn about two things like log analytics workspace. Here we'll learn about a normal language called KQL language. And the other thing it is application insights. And the other concept is IAM, identity access management. Here you will learn about users, groups, roles, role assignments, role based access control. It is called as RBAC, and multi-factor authentication, which you already know. We can enable the two-step authentication, and some other services and the app services. We'll learn other concept. Here you will also learn about function apps, logic apps, and so on. There are many more services like this, but we'll cover what are the part of AZ104 codes. Do you guys have any doubts regarding these concepts which I have told now?
We are about to start, right? Now that completed almost okay.
Not yet. We are about to start. Tomorrow, Bono will give a brief idea about the storage account, and most probably from day after tomorrow, we'll start with the actual AZ104 concepts. We'll go through each and every concept. Guys, I have mentioned this monitor concept, right? Here, I'll just go take you the overview here. Suppose, let me go to the storage account. Here you can see the different kinds of things here: insights, alerts, metrics, workbooks, diagnostic settings, and logs. This insights is mostly for applications. We'll use the application insights, and alerts is something like if you create any virtual machine, for each virtual machine we need the CPU and RAM. Suppose if the usage of that CPU goes beyond 80%, we can create an alert earlier. You will just get a email notification that this particular virtual machine, its CPU got exceeded beyond 80%, and it will trigger an alert in the form of email. And here you have the logs. What we'll do is that we'll direct these logs to another workspace called log analytics workspace. From there we can query these logs. These are the things which we cover in this monitoring concepts. And that's all guys I have for today. If you have any doubts, I'm free.
Not any query, but I just want to request before starting or after ending this session, before ending the session, just we'll club out or we'll go out with the key points, just repeat it. So
Manoj, you are
small
still
brush
not
up will
audible. Manoj, you are still not audible, Manoj.
yes sir.
Yeah, now
Is
it's
it now? Is it good?
yeah, is it good somewhat?
Is it good now?
Yeah, it's somewhat better.
Yeah. Okay. It's not a query. The thing that normally goes from my side is just we'll try to revise the key points or just we'll club up the points once class gets finished. It means
Okay,
when you're
at the
about to
end of
start the class,
class. Okay.
yeah, when you're about to start the class, what will happen is just we'll try to revise the yesterday concepts or key points which will be helpful for the today discussion or tomorrow discussion.
Yeah, sure, Manoj.
And
Yeah, sure.
when we are about to end the session, we'll just revise or we'll just go through the just in textbooks how the key points will be there, right? This one. Just we will revise so that at least will what will happen is we'll be getting habituated to the terms and the points.
Yeah, sure, Manoj. We'll take this forward. Yeah, it's better for a easy understanding of all the concepts. Like it will just revise what are the concepts we learned today. And from tomorrow, when
Yeah,
we start from
thank
the
you.
there, you can just revise the concepts which you learned yesterday.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And
sure.
even for example, if you feel any a little bit time taking, just we can ask some of the guys one.
If I can ask, then mostly they are not asking doubts as well. How they can respond, Manoj? I am asking for others to
Yeah,
respond as well.
yeah. No, just if they're more interested, even we can have a session like
Yes. Can anyone take the initiative, guys? What Manoj said. What are the concepts which we discussed today? If you guys tell, I'll make a note of that.
as of now, I remember I can say we discussed about the subscriptions,
Yeah,
resources groups,
yeah,
and resources. After that, we have gone through the different types of according to subscription, even we'll be having a cost. The cost, even at cost, we'll be having different types, like an even alert and how much it costs. And after that, we have gone through the alerts, like alerts and alerts based upon our monitoring systems.
yeah.
When there's any particular threshold crosses, we can get a mail alerts and these types of things.
Yeah.
Where I had more
And the other thing which we
of
are
my
discussed is
concentrations.
regarding that region resources,
Yeah, regions and
availability zones.
availability zones, where the data will be copied to the nearest zones from one in the same regions. And even if you want to have even we can maintain separate different zones. And according to the nearest availability. For example, if I'm in India, I can opt for India or America also. But only thing is the latency. The network latency will be if it gets increased according to the distance, the response from the user in the cloud team also will be the response time also gets increased.
Yeah, based on the region, based on the users, will we'll select the region for our application. Suppose if the users are India, we can host our application in India.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all. Another thing which I want to
Still any topics?
sorry.
No, still did we miss any topics in revising this task?
No, Manoj, you have covered almost everything. Even we discussed that Azure data center is not just a simple thing to learn how the data centers will be. I'll just go through. I think
Yeah,
here you can see.
exactly. Data centers.
Yeah, here you can see the regions and geographies. Here you can see Asia Pacific geography. Under each geography, what are the regions available? Here you can see the availability zones as well. I'll just paste this link in the chat. You can go through this if you want. Here you can see under India geography we have 3 zones. Under here we have availability zones for only for Central India. And you can see the data residency as well, stored at rest in India. And you can explore this globe as well.
Small query, we can do we cover the topics like in converting the present existing data, like in on-premises data to the cloud data also.
On-prem to cloud. Could you repeat
Hello?
the? You are asking the on-prem data to cloud, right?
Yeah. On-premises is nothing but like in physical servers, right?
Yeah,
If I'm
on-prem
not
is
wrong.
physical service. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we cover the topics of like in how to convert the present existing on-premises data to the cloud services also, or cloud data? Do we cover in upcoming topics
Yeah,
of
I'm Manoj. Tomorrow class we have which where I will be covering those topics. We have the agenda for that.
oh, yeah, good.
But for some
Just
of the
like very
Manoj,
much.
for some of the service, sorry, for some of the services we can cover the concepts which you have mentioned, right? We can cover those, but for some of it will be difficult for us to set up those environments as well. On-prem environments, so because
Manu, like, is there any like in Manu, is there any specific conditions where the cloud data or like in the conversion will be checking? For example, if you want to convert some particular data, is there any milestones or is there any specific requirements? If it crosses this particular threshold or this condition only, we can convert this data or not like that.
no, it's not.
Do you
It
have any
depends on the.
requirement like that?
It just depends on the company discretion. If they want to move to cloud, they'll just move to the cloud. That's all. If they want to maintain the hybrid, they can
Oh,
maintain the data in the on-prem and the cloud. There is no discretion. There is no any milestones which are mentioned. It just depends on the company discretion.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Recently you said like in for some of the servers it will not be possible, right? So based upon that one, I continue this.
Some of the servers it will be, it won't be possible. I'm not saying server services.
No,
For some services, these on-prem
services.
concepts are
Okay.
available. On-prem to
Okay, it means like in some of the applications or some of things, it will be only installed on particular physical servers, but not on virtual cloud. Is it correct? The statement?
no, it's not like that. What are the things which we have in the on-prem? For some of the services, we can convert them into. We can link them to cloud. But we can monitor those services from the cloud as well. That's what I mentioned.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
It means like in the already installed resources on premises on premises systems, we can make a link to the cloud system.
On-prem,
We can create it if you want.
Manoj, what I mentioned earlier is that for setting up the on-prem, we need the huge infrastructure. I mean, like we can't set up the for on our laptops this on-prem thing, so it won't be possible for some of the services. That's what I mentioned earlier. You got it?
Yes, I yeah,
Could you please talk again? We are not able.
thanks.
You are not
Thank you
audible.
very much.
You are not audible, Manoj. Clearly.
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible now?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Hello?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine now.
Yeah. Previously, like, I considered your, what,
Services
services
as
as servers, so
yeah, yeah.
that's why,
I got confused. Yeah,
yeah, that's why it has been extended.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
Yeah, yeah. Fine.
Yeah, thank
Guys,
you. Thank you very much.
guys, if you have any other questions,